So, tonight I'm going to talk about unworthiness and non-duality. So, some people are commenting on the last video that I created, like, oh, well, to whom does unworthiness occur? Like, who's having those thoughts? It's all an illusion, it's all unreal. And I can understand why people follow that way of thinking. Like, if you haven't yet fully known experientially the self, then netty saying, I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not unworthiness, this isn't real, the me doesn't exist. Okay, that is what consciousness does on its way to the self, to realization of the self. Realization of the self, however, does not heal the vessel necessarily, unless you have, for whatever reason, worked on your vessel, aka your psyche, before you realize the self. For me in my life, I realized the self spontaneously, self realized itself. But in my personality, like I was choosing a relationship that was super um, unkind to me. Um, I was choosing friends that were very disrespectful for me. Uh, if I were to follow along this line of thinking, where a lot of people think and talk like this in the realm of non-duality, like this is all an illusion, this is all an illusion, that could lead to some pretty severe self-harm. We have to remember that, first of all, many of the famous non-duality teachers had a lot of neurotic tendencies. Some had severe OCD, some were chain smokers, right? And like nervous chain smokers. So maybe they realized the self with a capital S, but if that God energy had penetrated the vessel, the psyche, it would have healed the neurotic tendencies. So there's a difference if the person who's teaching or talking is talking about, ignore this is an illusion, completely, the source of every thought is the I thought, right? If I begin my mind by saying I, then I'm going to have other thoughts. If I don't even think I'm not going to have other thoughts, because there's no I to have thoughts. And that's all good and well until you realize that your relationship with money is shit, right? For example, one of the ways that unworthiness manifests is that the way it manifested in my life, one way it did, is that I would give a lot in relationship, in healing work and coaching, offering everyone just my insight, like doing a lot for people for free, um, and not getting compensated. I didn't want to get compensated by those people, but I never got compensated by the universe. And if there's circuitry in your energy, if there's true circuitry in your energy, when you give, giving and receiving should be simultaneous. If I give, the universe should I should be receiving from the universe, whether it's because another client shows up that's, wants to invest in me, or another opportunity shows up. But if you're giving and giving and giving in so many arenas of your life without agenda, really from a good place, but you aren't receiving um, opportunities, finances, like there's something off there, and it's not an illusion. It's real, and it's manifesting in your life. Our beliefs manifest our reality. And there's a difference between the self with a capital S, that dimension of ourselves, and the vessel, the psyche. The psyche receives, sorry, I am plugged into my Healy. I'm running um, a program for, um, what is it called? Like gut happiness or something, because I'm about to like go on an airplane for a long time. So the unworthiness thing is, oh, and by the way, if you don't know what this is a microcurrent therapy device. It's called Healy. I'm a big fan of it. I used to go to Sedona to use similar technology. It reads your aura, and it offers suggestions about frequencies that could be medicinal to you. And for me, you know, the last 5 years of my life have been very intense. So sometimes I'll like run the kidney chi program, or like, something that helps me. I allow myself to be helped now. So I love it. But yeah, the that whole non-duality speak, it could be harmful to people. At least, like, look, if you don't resonate with what I say, then just take it or leave it. For me, I know that I realized the self. I know that I had a full-blown Kundalini awakening, and I also know from my experience that it did not it did heal my mind, actually, but over the course of years. That the big explosion, the near-death experiences I had were in 2012. The explosion and the cracking of the cosmic egg was in 2016. I had 2 years of like unbridled bliss, and then I started drilling through the chakra system, because it's actually not an illusion at all. It's very real, and you treat it like an illusion when you are trying to realize a dimension of yourself. But when you're trying to embody that self energy in your, people call it your nervous system, in your physical body. Your nervous system is really the physical representation of your belief system. You have to transform your beliefs, right? That God energy coming into your vessel, into your psyche. I mean, you might not, your soul might not choose that path of embodiment, but my life has been about embodiment. So, like I said, it is not an illusion that if you are a masochist and you are in relationship after relationship where people are treating you badly, and you're not walking away from it, you don't have the strength to walk away from it, or to speak up for yourself, or to show self-respect in the ways that your soul is asking you to. The karma that I have healed has been about self-respect, lack of self-respect, transforming it to radical self-respect. It's doormat, I call it doormat karma. So it's not an illusion. If you want the energy of infinite intelligence and unconditional love to radiate through your physical being, you have to heal your vessel. You can only go as high as you go low. You can only stay as high as you go low. You can be in a disassociated state of oneness. I call it a disassociated state because you can be aware of oneness, but like, for example, in a relationship where, someone is, I don't know, like when they drink, they insult you, right? And so you're like, you still have all these people around you that like are unkind, that insult you, that use you. So you're not getting the message of what you came here to transform. So you're only occupying one dimension of reality. If you were to occupy all dimensions of self that are all here and now, you can know that there is oneness, and you can use your discernment to say, oh, this is not kind to myself. If we're going to live a life of loving kindness, it has to include ourselves, and everything in our life is a hologram of how we feel about ourselves. So you can realize the self and go ahead and live a life of unworthiness and lack of self-respect. But to me, that doesn't make any sense, because that's not what happened in my life. The Kundalini energy forced me to see these things and change them. So the life we're living, people that attract cruelty or narcissism, it's all because we do it to ourselves. We do it to ourselves. Is the self that sadistically beats itself up an illusion? No, it's not, because it is magnetically attracting human beings, circumstances, lack of finances, all kinds of things. It's creating. The mind is not idle. The mind isn't idle. So you can disassociate from the mind, but it's not idle. So it's going to continue creating. And in my opinion, the most loving thing you can do is not just not touch the mind and act like it's an illusion, but touch it with love so that you only allow airtime for loving thoughts, so that you interrupt unloving thoughts, so that you breathe into your heart when you're having unloving thoughts. You transform and alchemize the dimensions of self. That's what I'm about. If you don't agree with that, I understand, but this might not be the right information for you. But we attract the way we treat ourselves internally. Empaths that attract narcissists have an internalized narcissist. So if you're an empath that has attracted a lot of narcissistic people, men, women, people, you have a narcissist within you that beats you up, that suppresses you, that sadistically tortures you. Therefore, as an outpicturing of your psyche, you magnetically attract shitty friends, shitty partners, or the shitty aspects of people. Not necessarily that they're shitty people, but you attract the worst parts of them because the magnetism of your aura is attracting that to you. So it's very real. I'm going to offer a lot of different angles and opinions about this because it's so effing important. I had such an intense Kundalini awakening, and it started dawning on me, like, wait a minute, like, I give so much for free, but like, why am I not being compensated? Like, why are opportunities not coming to me? Why am I still married to this guy? um why do I allow guilt to keep me tethered to friends who I've known my entire life that aren't the best for me? Why am I making every choice? Like, knowing that everything is God makes me feel love and compassion for everything, but feeling love and compassion for everything does not necessarily transmute your reality if the lesson of your soul is to get involved and make choices and find the strength to walk away from things. That's been the case for me. Maybe somebody else that has uh, an intense awakening, maybe they don't have to learn those things. And so just staying in oneness and just radiating the energy of oneness will just organize and harmonize their whole life. That's not what was happening for me. What was happening for me was that awakening raised my vibration to the level where I finally became aware of what I had to do, which was behave differently, think differently, create. I was very, very lax with boundaries. Very lax with boundaries. I mean, I don't want to get into too specifics, but I was around people who didn't respect my boundaries, and like, I wouldn't leave the situation. They wouldn't respect my physical boundaries. I allowed violence to occur to me because I didn't. Right. So it's an interesting, I've had an interesting experience in that my awakening, the gap between the self and oneness and my conditioning was so big, and like Kundalini energizes everything in you that isn't expanded. Like, it was really rough because it's Kundalini is always pointing out to you parts of your vessel that cannot contain the wattage of the energy that you have reached, that has arrived in your life, however you want to say it. That Kundalini awakening, that explosion in the crown chakra, that bullet train process that has a life of its own, the only way that amount of energy can live through your nervous system, in your body, in your life, in your physical life, is if you heal the vessel, period. And maybe your vessel is already has a lot less cracks in it than mine did. I'm just reporting to you from a vessel that was formerly really cracked. In fact, when I did Rohan on myself, when I did the therapy that I now do for others, one of the therapies, when I visualized myself, I didn't even look like a person. I looked like a cracked mirror, like shattered glass. Like imagine a vessel that's supposed to look like a vessel, like a cup or a vase, but it's like shattered glass all over the floor. That represents severe fragmentation. Fragmentation can look like, oh, I want to be a good person, a good Christian, a good wife. So if he comes home at 5 a.m. every night, reeking of alcohol, and he's really mean to me, oh, but everything is God, so I'll just be really kind to him. No, no. So I'm very careful about yeah, all the non-duality stuff. That's just at this point in my life, I'm not focusing on those type of teachings. You all know where to find those teachings. They're all over the internet. Maybe when I have fully integrated this kind of all the work I've done, all the internal work I've done, and that I will help others with, because I think I'm going to create a school or a program, because I deeply understand how to heal the vessel. I deeply understand it. It's like there's a pathway that universal intelligence, that the God that is us takes through our vessel, through our psyche, in order to express in your physical life into the root chakra. You have to repair the pathway. It's like a highway. If you don't speak up, if you don't um if your soul wants you to learn that you are free to stand up for yourself, right? How do you know you need to learn that? Because maybe you try everything else. Maybe you're just kind to the person. Maybe you send them love. I told a story that was pretty interesting about entities. So I had an experience. I've had a few experiences with like dark energies on the other side, because I was initiated into shamanic work through terrorizing situations. One situation was somebody physically attacked me. They said the demons were telling them to rape me, and they got on top of me, and I just shined a light, like pure unconditional love, and the person passed out and fell off of me and vomited a black bile, and Archangel Michael got me out of that situation. Then there was another situation where I was in the woods studying Rohan, which is the therapy I do. And I was staying in a cabin by this creek, and it's like there's a lot of non-physical activity at this place because we work with a lot of spiritual energy and a lot of beings on the other side, and we get their attention. You get attention in the spiritual world and the astral world when you work there, right? So this discarnate being attacked me in my sleep, like literally ripped off the covers, literally ripped off the physical covers, and tried to attach itself to the back of my head. And I got it off me by literally getting huge and literally saying with conviction words of God in Hebrew, but like when the energy of like, get the fuck off me. Now I have a question for you. Why in one situation was the answer love? Because in that moment I needed to learn that love is the answer. Love can heal anything, right? That's what my soul needed to learn. Like, love has the power to disarm the most scary thing. That's how powerful you are. That's how strong your light is. And in another moment, which was months later, or maybe even a year or two later, I needed to learn that I needed to cultivate the energy of conviction. I am the boss of me. I am the boss of my energy. I am the boss of the boundaries of my aura. Get the fuck out of here. Okay? So that's a very psychological thing that I had to learn. It's not an illusion. It's not an illusion when beings are trying to attack you, and on the other side, it's not an illusion. It's that you're magnetically attracting relationships in the physical world, lack of finances or drama or or health problems in the physical world. You're also attracting things in the non-physical world. And I was attracting things based on the fact that I literally never, I did not respect my boundaries. So that was a lesson for me. That was the beginning of me realizing, like, whoa, I need to take this boundary thing like really seriously. So I have so much that I could say about this, but I'm just going to leave it at that. There is no lack of harmony between non-duality. Everything is one, and there's a relative world. And if you want the energy of oneness to anchor in your life and actually move through your life in a very dynamic way, then you need to heal your psychological vessel, most likely. Or maybe you don't. Maybe your vessel is pretty healthy. Maybe you don't. Maybe you didn't come in this world with huge unworthiness issues like I did, huge guilt issues. Maybe you didn't. You know, I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for myself, and I only speak anecdotally. So anyway, I just wanted to clear that up because I know I've talked about both of these, you know, non-duality, everything is oneness, we're all God, and then we're also an individual with a psychic vessel that, you know, like, it's really simple. If you're always unworthy and guilty, then like you've got a 10-watt bulb and Kundalini is like a million-watt energy. Like, how do you think that's going to go? How do you think Kundalini energy is going to interact with a 10-watt bulb in your root chakra? It's going to hurt. And it's going to look like you don't respect your boundaries. You don't have the strength to walk away from things that are unkind to you. You don't have the self-respect to say no to things, even if you're temporarily scared or lonely. That's what that looks like. If you have a 10-watt bulb in your second chakra and you've got a Kundalini awakening, what's that going to look like? It's going to be amplified in your awareness that guilt runs your life. And it's good that it's amplified in your awareness. It amplifies it so that you can let it go, so that you can see that it has no value. So I hope I've resolved this whole thing with non-duality, and what I talk about, they coexist. I just focus on this channel, at least at this moment. Who knows, maybe in a year I'll be like singing a different tune. This is just where I'm at now. Take it or leave it. So I hope this is helpful, and I hope you have a beautiful day.